yeah, my goal is to meet you guys because I felt like that was very important to do. And we were coming close to the end of SEMA, and I was like, I manifested it, and you guys were just right there, and so it was
Yay for
perfect.
manifestation.
Yeah, it was your hair, and I was like, I recognize that. So I was so nervous to walk over and it not be you.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was just like, we're just gonna wing it anyway. I'll just make a new friend. So
There you go. There you go. Yeah, my hair is a pretty good identifier.
oh no, it was great. It was, thank you.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barry Hutt with Motorhead Digital, and my co-host is Annette Bauer from Annette Bauer Creative. We're excited to welcome Joalda Lopez, the owner of Rebel Road Hot Rod Garage, to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast.
Woo! That's it. Right. Yes. So, Joalda, we always start every podcast with a very unusual, out-of-the-box question, and we're going to kick it off by saying and asking, what is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Alcoholic, or are we talking like...
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter? Okay. That is a good question. I like a mimosa.
Oh.
I do.
Champagne
I'm a
girl.
mimosa kind of girly. It sets, not every day. It's like on a Sunday, but it's a tough one. And then in the evening, I like a Vegas bomb.
Oh man, I haven't had one of those in a really, really, really long time.
Yeah, they're good. Socially.
Yeah.
Not an everyday thing, but
right.
Yeah.
So I actually, when I do drink, which is pretty rare, Barry can tell you, in the time that we've known each other, which is a couple years now, he's only seen me drink, what, twice maybe?
Twice? I think twice, yeah.
Yeah. So like my go-to is Captain and Coke.
Okay.
If it's alcoholic. If it's not alcoholic, it's chocolate milk.
Really? Oh, how funny. Okay. Yeah, non-alcoholic, it's Gatorade.
Yeah.
Me and Gatorade are best friends. I don't know why.
That's good.
It should be water, but yeah.
Hey, at least you're closer to that than I am, so.
Chocolate milk, how funny. What about you, Barry? What's your favorite drink?
Well, I've been an old-fashioned fan lately, but I have a bottle of Josh Cabernet Sauvignon downstairs that I told my wife. I said, I'm going to bring up my wine. She goes, that is not professional. Do not bring wine to your podcast. But I would have vibed with it. Yeah,
I do love a Pinot Noir myself. When we go out, depends though, because I like a Zinfandel too. So
cool.
That is so funny.
Yeah, I am not a wine person, so that would be a you and Barry thing for sure.
Yeah, I'm a wine thing for sure. Dean showed up as our producer once, and he's got his wine working and everything. So
that is so funny.
Yeah,
he does.
Cool.
Awesome. So Barry, do you have questions that you want to kick off with? Because I know that you usually do.
I do. I want to know. I read that you got started during a pandemic, which is like crazy insane. What inspired you to start the hot rod shop?
Yeah. So, to make a long story short, my fiancé grew up in Tennessee and had dreamed of owning a hot rod shop. He lived on Rebel Road in Smyrna, Tennessee. Okay. And ever since he was a little kid, he told his dad, I want to own a hot rod shop. So my father-in-law came home and got door magnets that said Rebel Road Hot Rod Garage on it. And so it had been like a family thing forever. And so we had joked about owning a hot rod shop when we got together. And I got furloughed during the pandemic. I was a physical therapist assistant. I had a great job. And then during my furlough, I was like, I want to start a business. I want to be able to have control over my money and my time, that nice thinking, though business is very hard, as I have learned. And he came home one day and I was like, we're starting a business. We're starting a hot rod shop and we're naming it Rebel Road Hot Rod Garage. And that was August 6th, 2020.
Wow.
2020 and it's 2024. And you survived the first year. That was the biggest hurdle. That is awesome.
Yes, thank you. It was very tough.
Well, I mean, and you guys chose to do it at a very pivotal time, not only in history, right? But in the time of saying like, hey, we're going to take that leap and start a business and rely upon ourselves to support our families and our future, right? And that's that in itself, like starting a business by itself is one hurdle, but starting it in a circumstance like that is a completely different hurdle. So yeah,
it was
big kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't want to. Nope. I started my business like back in the 90s. Gosh. Okay. Well, let's just skip that bit.
Yeah, same. 90s, late 90s,
right.
early 90s, mid 90s. It's so long ago. I can't remember it myself.
I won't even bring up my birth date, my birth year. Because it was about that time.
Right. Yes, probably. I love that you've got like so much great information in what you shared with us about, like how you got started, some of your guys' interest in terms of vehicles. But I want to kind of take a step out of this a little bit and go back to SEMA, since we just came off SEMA.
Yeah.
I want to kind of engage with you a little bit on the whole like SEMA activity. I know you brought, if I believe, and I remember correctly, I think you said you brought 10 of your people from your shop. So one, that's incredible, right? Like to bring that many people and give them that experience of what SEMA is all about, because it is a lot to take in, right? It is a whole lot in a short period of time, a whole lot of ground to cover. With them kind of making some changes to the way that the halls are laid out right now, it made it even a lot more challenging, not only for, like first timers, but even, people who had been there many years to navigate and figure out where they needed to be. With that being said, though, what was your team's feedback on going to, like the show? I mean, to go into SEMA?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I had made SEMA networking bingo cards for all of my team. And the purpose of it was because I didn't want everyone to group together. I wanted everyone to go and experience their own SEMA experience. And so by doing that allowed us to get different interpretations of the SEMA experience. Some of the great feedback was that it was really motivational to come back to work and know that some of the quality of work that we're doing is up there. So that was really nice. And then the other one was the frustration of the layout and the confusion, because there's so much to see and so much to do and not enough time and not enough structure. But that was from both ends from our team. And then, of course, getting the logo out there. If you get 10 people roaming around, a lot of people are seeing the logo. So.
Absolutely. Brand awareness.
Yes.
I can say, we take 3 people and it's a financial hit for sure. So I can imagine taking 10. You're a lot closer. We had to fly there. But one thing I've always found out is I get home and I go on Instagram and I go, where the heck was that car?
Oh my gosh.
Yes. See that? I walked 32 miles. I should have seen everything.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's been the talk of the shop. Is there was a lot of us out there looking at a lot of stuff, and it's saturated with things that I hadn't seen or areas that I didn't even know existed. So
have you been to the show? Is this your first time?
This
You
was
may
our
have
first
you
time.
may have said that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow,
The majority of us, it was the first time.
Yeah. It is definitely a lot to absorb. Like, I mean, I've been there for probably 4 years, gone 4 different years. And I swear, like, the first year it was my absolute goal. Like, I'm going to get around to every hall. I'm going to see. No way. Not happening.
No
Like,
way.
even I was there for the entire time, unlike this time, but I was exhausted. I had so many pictures and met so many incredible people, but still, even with that, like, I did not get around to everywhere.
Oh, yeah, no. It's the first day. There's 5 halls, top and bottom for most. And the first day, I think I had walked like 21,000 steps, and I was in so much pain. And it ruined the whole week because I was in so much pain. So it was too much in one day, and it was overwhelming for sure.
it's got to be different because I've always had a booth to hang out, to stash my stuff
Oh,
at. As long as I've
yeah.
gone, whether it was the Shop Magazine or Armo, we have a place to hang out. When you're there at the show and you don't have a booth, I can't imagine what that's like because you're just you got to find places to chill, the
Oh
members
my
lounge,
gosh.
things like that. And the
Yeah.
first year you're there, maybe you don't even know those lounges exist.
Nope. Nope. We saw people sitting where there was somewhere to sit, there was floors flooded with just people. That's where we ended up, was on a floor somewhere. Yeah. I did not know that there were lounges.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's, like, even so, I mean, I even know that there are lounges, but still, again, with the configuration of the way that they changed things this year, I was like, yeah, I'm not making it way over there. I just can't. Like, to get to the next place that I got to get to, like, it's just not possible. So it creates a little bit of a challenge for sure. So,
Yes.
But I'm glad that you guys had a great time, and I'm super glad that we got to meet, like, face to face there. And so that was awesome. Like, I'm so glad that you came over and was like, hey.
Yeah, it was cool. My goal is to meet you guys because I felt like that was very important to do. And we were coming close to the end of SEMA, and I was like, I manifested it, and you guys were just right there, and so it was
yay for
perfect.
Manifestation.
Yeah, it was your hair, and I was like, I recognize that. So I was so nervous to walk over and it not be you.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, we're just gonna wing it anyway. I'll just make a new friend. So
there you go. There you go. Yeah. My hair is a pretty good identifier.
Oh no, it was great. It was, thank you.
So what speaking of SEMA, what was the one thing that you took away from the show?
Oh
if
man,
there's one thing that you could really say, I don't care what it is, but what was the one thing that you took away from the show?
The one thing I took away from the show, that there's not enough people doing what I am doing there. Not to sound, egotistical, but there's not a whole lot of female hot rod shops that are like, really out there. You have, the girls garage stuff, and they're walking around, but I didn't see a whole lot of builds. I didn't see a whole lot of boosts or anything of that sort. So it was really motivating for me and the shop, really. That was my biggest takeaway.
Cool. There's a lot of shops out there, especially on the East Coast, that I'm not going all the way to Vegas. Some of them don't still, they've been in the industry a long time. They really don't understand why they would want to go to SEMA. I've had shops tell me that I don't need to go to that show either. So that might be part of it.
Could be part of it. There was, we had an employee, he's our oldest employee, and he could not wrap his head around going to SEMA. He's like, why? Similar mindset. And we told him, we're like, one, it's marketing. But two, there's and of course there's going to be new products, there's going to be new services, there's going to be new vendors, that whole sort of thing. But you need to see what other people are doing. You need to be able to be around that community, and immerse yourself in it. And if you go and you didn't like it, don't go back. but at least you went, and there will be a takeaway, whether you liked it or you didn't. And that's the takeaway.
Well, and that's a big part for anybody who, especially if, and I don't know what the position of said person is, but like if they're a fabricator or if they do, anything creative, like that's a critical time for them to be able to look and see what is happening within the industry and maybe even get some, ideas of things that they want to like, oh, I like this, but I can change it to whatever to make it mine, right? To make it more specific to the type of builds that you guys do, but to put their own creative touch on it. But sometimes I think like when we silo ourselves in a box, right? We think like, oh, we're being so productive, but we lose some parts that are really important about being connected to other individuals within our industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The funny thing is he was the most hesitant, and he's the one that came with the most positive way from going to SEMA.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And he's a mechanic.
You're involved with SBN, correct? As you're a member of SBN, and that's on the council. I'm on ARMO, and I can say that after going for a number of years, there's people I see there every year. There's more. The more I go, the more camaraderie I have, the more friends I make. And it's really, it's not just about looking at the cars and the products and learning about those. It's having those conversations and making connections and things like that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So like I was saying, you could go to a car show, a local car show, or any other car shows that are put on, like even like Good Guys, for example, and see the cars. But when you get to meet the people that you talk to online, social media, or the new people that you get to meet is something you don't get a whole lot from going to some of those car shows.
Right.
So I agree.
You get to exchange ideas or information or experiences, right? And that is, I think, the biggest takeaway. It always has been for me when going to any like SEMA, PRI, anything that is like majorly automotive related is the networking opportunities, because it isn't just oh, I met you, I know who you are by face, by name, but also now like that ability to be able to exchange and collaborate on different ideas. Even if it isn't something now, it can be something in the future. And I say that like as a preface, when Barry and I first met, it didn't have anything to do with a podcast. It actually had to do with him doing a session and me typing in my opinion on something. And 2 years later is when this was born. Yeah. So like you never know. Yeah, you never know when like that first meet can turn into something that can be great in the future.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of the people that I had the pleasure of meeting, including both of you at SEMA, is going to change the trajectory of my company. And that's invaluable,
That's incredible.
The Gearheads and Gasoline podcast is proudly sponsored by Redline Synthetic Oil. With a legacy of excellence and over 100 premium products, Redline provides motor oils, gear oils, assembly lubes, fuel additives, and water wetter for the automotive, racing, motorcycle, marine, and industrial markets. Known for their exceptional quality and technical expertise, Redline is trusted by enthusiasts and professionals alike. Discover their full range of products and expert support at redlineoil.com. We don't want to make this whole session about the SEMA show, but I do have one other question. While you were there, did you or any of your team take any educational sessions or anything like that?
So my fiance did actually. He took, I'm not too sure what the headline of the course was, but I know it was business related. And that was hosted by Steve Gilmore. And I think it was Steve Gilmore. I don't want to put any names out there that maybe weren't a part of that. So,
yeah, there's like 75 sessions. They actually cut back on them, but they were pretty full, I guess. A lot of them were.
Yeah, I wasn't, I would have liked to have attended some. There was so much going on and it was not matching up time-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that was probably my biggest challenge of the whole event, and on top of that, I had booth duty 2 different days. So it's like committing time to do the SBN booth, which I love. Like it was great. And I love being able to have that interaction with, the gals that are interested or want to get involved in the space. But at the same time, I was like, okay, so now I have to run from here to there to.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot.
It is.
Yeah, I was there all week, and I think I had like 5 or 6 sessions on my calendar. The only one I did was the one that Annette and I did.
Oh, that is so funny. Yeah. I'm going to
That
have
is a
to,
true statement.
next year, I'm going to have to force the time,
Yes.
delegate it much better.
So,
The more that you get used to it, it kind of works.
yeah,
itself
you
out.
kind of plan things out. This year, again, like Annette says, a little wonky with the construction because all the sessions were in West Hall. Normally they're in North Hall. They're kind of in the middle. I mean, I
Oh,
took and walked the whole distance from Central to our meeting room. It took me 10 minutes, and that was at a brisk
wow.
walk. So hopefully next year more sessions will be back in North Hall. They're redoing the meeting rooms there, I guess. But I wanted to ask, I didn't dig really deep into what you're building in your shop and what kind of builds you have. Restorations. I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah, of course. So we actually have 2 locations. Our first station handles a lot of our preventative maintenance and mechanical restorations. So ideally, really anything that doesn't require bodywork paint or heavy fabrication. And then our second location handles all of our full restoration stuff. Well, really anything that is heavy fab, bodywork, paint, that sort of stuff. So some of the projects that we have at our second location, we have that has been a little bit of a pain, but it's a love-hate relationship. It's a 72 Cadillac ambulance. It's very Ghostbustery. So that's I bring that one up all the time because it's so odd. It's
Right.
huge. It's like a big Bertha sort of style thing. But it's been one of our longest and our most learned projects. But it's every time someone sees it, it's just we can have like the most beautiful Chevelle Nova. We have a 54 Merc that's getting like total pro touring package on it. They don't care. They want that. They like the ambulance.
Wow. Yeah,
Well,
that's cool.
Ghostbusters did just come out not too long ago with their second movie, so
Yeah. And this one, it's got a skylight on it. It wasn't the best vetted vehicle that has been through the shop. It's I'll just send you guys pictures of it. But that's some of the stuff we got going on at our first location. Right now we have a 38 Dodge that's in for some minor tuning stuff. We've been having an influx of like 60s Ford trucks that are we're doing a lot of motor swaps on it. Of course, we do upgraded suspension, steering, brakes. Some people want digital gauges. Some people like the original stuff, but that's we go through waves. We just went through a wave of Camaros, similar stuff, but right now we're going through the specific Ford F100, F250.
No C10s in your shop. Every shop that I know, I think, has a C10 in their shop.
We do have a couple C10s. Yes. Yes.
Sure, Barry.
I knew it. I was just at Gillen GCD Auto Store, one of our guests. We saw him on Friday and got a C10 in the shop and a Lincoln with suicide doors. Nice. So it's interesting.
Yeah. What's funny about the C10 stuff is it the spectrum is very broad. So someone wants it to be just a farm truck, again, complete originality. And then some want it on airbags. They want it lowered. They want it super clean. So it's really funny because you can when a customer walks into the shop, you can kind of pick, like
which direction they're going.
Yeah. Or what kind of vehicle they have. You know how like people say the owners look a lot like their dogs? It's the same thing with classic cars. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. Do I look like a Corvette?
I was gonna say. I was literally just gonna say.
I should have had her guess.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I was gonna say, there's a Corvette type, and which is it's all.
I guess the question is, Barry, is what kind of shoes are you wearing? because
I have
if you're
slippers
wearing,
on right now, but I do not wear white socks. I do not have New Balance, and I do not wear denim jeans.
oh well,
You got me at the wine.
Hey, I said bourbon first, by the way. So
That's true.
my
That
favorite
is
drink
true.
is old fashioned. So
That is
oh,
true.
yes, that's funny.
cool.
Well, you brought up something that I want to ask a little bit about, because a lot of our guests, they bring in builds, right? And you had mentioned that you guys didn't, especially on your little Ghostbuster-ish kind of vehicle, that sometimes like the vetting didn't really pan out as much as you had thought on that one, right? So
Running
it
fast.
sounds similar to, like, to throw out another well-known shop like Gas Monkey Garage, right? Like they do a lot of vetting of vehicles and go buy them and then restore them. So is that similar to the type of work you guys do, or do you solely rely on customers bringing in vehicles?
So our vetting process we has changed significantly since we started our business 3.5 years ago. It's kind of at the point now where you have to earn our trust in order for you to bring your vehicle in. And so I'm not familiar with the process a whole lot that Gas Monkey does. I try not to see what other big shops like that are doing too much.
Yeah.
But it's a very strenuous vetting process for our customers. So I know we get a lot that are turned away that are very unhappy, but it keeps us from having projects like ambulance with a skylight on it. So.
Well, and I imagine it kind of helps control, right? It's like quality control, right? Any company kind of goes to that quality control. So
Yes. So we actually have what's called a qualifying inspection. So any vehicle that we work on has to go through a qualifying inspection first. And then they take possession of the vehicles. It's the same day sort of thing. You drop it off, you pick it up. We do our qualifying inspections. And then if the work is agreed upon, then the vehicle comes back and then we do the work. That way we familiarize ourselves with the vehicle, with the customer, make sure that there's not going to be any issues on either end. And we want to make sure that we're not taking off more than we can chew. So absolutely.
Do you have customers that come in part of your vetting process? We start to live by a rule that we don't work with people that we wouldn't have over for a barbecue. So there's some personality things there. Are you going to be able to work with them? Also, can't you just customers that have watched some of these shows on TV, right? And don't understand what really goes into a quality build or restoration.
Yeah, so we do have a customer vetting diagram, and so it's structured off the first initial conversation. Is it are we not aligned because of budgetary reasons? Then it's best that we give you recommendations, we send you somewhere else, or they're just not realistic. And then it goes off of attitude. Yeah, if you come in and you're just absolutely, I want this and I want that and unreasonable and like you're gonna do what I tell you to do, then it's like, whoa, dude, you need to back off a little bit, because that's not how it's gonna work. I spend a lot more time in my office these days, but when I was working front desk, I was much more aggressive to customers that way. I was like, hey, nope, you could walk back out in the parking lot, gather yourself and come back in and get your attitude together. But so you can't treat all customers like that. I realize that. So we have that diagram and it's coming in handy because we have had some customers that have been completely unreasonable. And we've had some customers that it was just a miscommunication and they would have been a great customer, So, and then, yes, you have the TV show stuff. And some customers will come in, say, I want this to look like X, Y, and Z on X, Y show, but I want to pay $20,000. And it's like, so yeah,
that's got to be, you can't get the paint job for that.
No.
That's awesome. I noticed in some of the information that you shared, again, kind of like we were talking about before, is that you got started into the automotive space from your dad. And I just like that resonates with me because that's actually how I got started in the space as well. My father introduced me to, like working on cars when I was really little. Actually, so much so that like he would give me a wrench just to get me out of his hair when we were in the garage because my dad was a mechanic. And as soon as I figured out what the wrench fit on, I went around and quickly stripped every bolt that wrench could fit on. At which point my dad was like, okay, I need to give you something productive to do.
That is
And
so
thus
funny.
a Gearhead was born.
That is so, it's my father is not a mechanically inclined at all.
Mhm.
And so he is a handyman, however. So if you need a house built, I am pretty close to building you a house. So all of
Nice.
our home renovations, I do. But I got into the automotive or this realm of automotive, the vintage stuff, because of him, because he had me when he was 45.
Oh, yeah.
And he was born in 1947. So he's a little old man. He's old enough to be my grandfather. But so I was raised, and then of course he was raised in a very small town, very old school mindset. So I was brought up in that vintage classic lifestyle.
Mhm.
So the classic car thing was just where I felt comfortable,
Wow.
and then the automotive thing kind of came after I had my son. So,
Right.
but the hard work was because the automotive thing, like you guys know, is not for the faint of heart. You need to have some grit. You need to be tough. You're going to get frustrated very easily. And so I saw those characteristics from him working, being a handyman construction.
Yeah.
So
When you started your shop, was it just you and your fiance? Did you have people already that you said, here, do you want to come work with us? Or was it just you two and then you added team members after that? How did you grow that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would love to give you guys that story without taking too much time because it is one of the most pivotal moments of my life. After we started the business, or when we got the LLC, like I mentioned earlier, we had no money. We don't come from the grandfather that died, the uncle that no inheritance, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so we used our canceled wedding funds because our wedding got canceled during COVID. And we used that to start our business, which even still was very budgeted.
Sure.
And so we, during that time, we had bought our house from my father-in-law, and it came with a 30 by 70 foot shop in the backyard.
Nice.
And so that's where the start of it began. And so Jason and I would go back there. We started getting clients from, names. And I told him, I was like, okay, look, I maybe bit off more than I could chew and dreamt higher than my capabilities. So I was like, but I don't want to be a pretty girl that sits behind a desk. You need to teach me how to do stuff. He was like, all right. So we were getting some customer vehicles in our backyard shop, and he taught me how to weld. He taught me how to fabricate. He taught me how to wrench, like really, really do it enough for it to be somewhat skilled. I could change oil and I could do all that stuff like a son of a gun, but nothing to build a business off of, or at least in my head, be respected for. Right. And so then it just kind of slowly started. We got involved with a lot of mentoring, businessing, and we were like, we need to have a good foundation for business. The skill will come later. And we met a lot of people. We hired a marketing team before we even had a business license. Mm-hmm. And the marketing team, the story is so crazy. That's why I want to share it, because the whole thing was just so crazy. So we go to Utah to take this sales class. we met this guy, became a really good friend, had a marketing team. He was like, it's going to be X amount of money, thousands of dollars to do this marketing team. And I was like, we can't, there's no way we can't afford that.
Right. Yeah.
And so my fiance was like, and it like, I got so scared, it pissed me off that I was like, we're not doing this. Like it just makes no sense. And so they're sales guys. And so they're drilling us. And I told them, I was like, I will sign a contract, but I want some of your vehicles to restore. Cause in my head, that's the only thing that makes sense. You know, he was like, all right, let's do it. And so, we maxed out our credit cards to hire this marketing team.
Oh my gosh.
So much so that we were like, we drove to Utah. We're like, how are we going to get home? I don't even think we have money for gas. I swear to God. And so luckily they had invited us out to dinner. And so we ate, this free dinner, and we slowly made it home. And I was still working part-time as a physical therapist, or I was still working full-time as a physical therapist assistant. During that time, we were like, all right, we'll refinance our house to pay the marketing team and to start up business expenses. And during that process, my fiance lost his job. And so they found that out, and then we lost our refinance. So it was, and so now we're the only one working now full time. And, so we joke that we sold everything but our house and our kids to start our business, which because it's true, we sold everything. Wow. And so then we pay off the marketing team. All right, cool. So we were working in our backyard shop. I was like, we need to get a business license so we can get a couple customers in to get some testimonials for the marketing, the whole thing. Well, during that, our town that we live in refused to give us a business license. And then they coded our house for having too much vehicles in our backyard. So then we ran into that issue. So this all happened within a span of 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was awful. We didn't sleep. We didn't eat. I'm still probably recovering I probably have organ failure from like that amount of stress. And so we were like, we need a shop. Like we need a shop. So my fiance was looking at like 3 a.m. for a shop during COVID. And all the industrial is extremely expensive. It's non-existent. And so he sees the shop that we are currently in go up for lease at 3 a.m. Calls the listing agent. She happened to be up at 3 a.m. and she's like, we'll go look at it tomorrow morning. We came to look at the shop the following morning with the landlord. The landlord was really a blessing in disguise. We kind of told him what was going on. He was like, I will help you guys out. We'll work out first months. Just give me X, Y, and Z down payment. Cool. We got the keys to the shop 2 weeks before the marketing team was supposed to show up. And at 6 a.m., my fiance and I hung up our sign that sits out up front on our building. And then we had to be here at 8 a.m. to film content.
Oh my gosh.
And then we slowly, got employees and then went through the normal headaches of owning a business. But I just wanted to share that story because I know someone out there is probably feeling very alone or very overwhelmed and stressed. And I'm like, it's possible. It hurts, but it is possible.
Yeah, so you have to take risks. Annette will attest to this. We're sitting at the SEMA show doing our session. And I said, I'm a big proponent of Who Not How, a book that's out there, but hiring the people like you did, and I said, hire the right people, whether it's photography, videography, marketing. You focus on your customers, your shop, your builds, things like that. And one guy said, well, when should I do that? And I said, as soon as you have the cash. Well, you just blew that whole idea away before you even have a shop. we're going to hire a marketing team. So
Nope.
you
Yep.
did exactly what I recommend. And I'm a digital marketing guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
telling them this so I can get their business. I'm just saying you need to focus on what you're good at, what your business
Right.
is, and your customers bringing the value, and let somebody else that has years of experience market your business for you, or do whatever else that you just don't know how to do. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's really cool. I love that story.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a lot to go through in
Yeah.
such a short period of time. But I mean, think about like that also gives you guys that, you know, strength of that backbone to say, like, man, when we had absolutely nothing,
Nothing.
literally nothing, right? We built from zero and we're here today and we're standing and we're proud of what we've accomplished and who we are. We did it together, you know, that kind of thing. And I mean, yeah, that's just an incredible story. Like, wow.
So, Annette, Annette and I ask a lot of questions about the School of Hard Knocks. That's the ultimate School of Hard Knocks.
Right.
Wow.
I will say it was the most raw American dream that we are living and trying. And, you know, it's, when I have days that I'm like stressed out and I'm like, come on, dude, you've proven that you can get through it. So knock it off, you know, let's go. So yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Annette Bauer Creative. At Annette Bauer Creative, we understand the power of visual storytelling in transforming brands and driving growth. From capturing the essence of your products and services to showcasing the unique solutions you offer, our professional imagery and reels help bring your brand to life. Fuel your brand and ignite your vision at AnnetteBauerCreative.com.
That's amazing. Seriously, that's amazing. That is so awesome. All right, so then do you still work with the marketing team, or have you guys since like started doing stuff on your own?
We still somewhat work with the marketing team. That was a learning experience in itself also, mostly because we don't sell product or we don't sell unspecialized services. So we were getting the wrong clientele. So we're just trying to fine tune it to get the more correct clientele, but it helped us understand what we needed for future marketing. And it's really that time gave us what we needed to be where we are now. So
well, that brings up like a super good point, right? Which is, and Barry and I have this conversation like amongst what we do as careers, right? Is that it's really easy for anybody to go out there and hire somebody who says like, oh yeah, I can do the marketing for you. I can put a flyer together for you. I can build a website for you. I can do XYZ, right? Fill in the blank. But if that person doesn't have any experience, knowledge, whatnot of the automotive space, you as a customer of theirs, right, are now not only teaching them about automotive, about what you do, how you do it, what makes you different, but also trying to learn from them that isn't like apples for apples, right? Like there isn't a you speak my language, I speak your language kind of a thing. It's this process of one learning each other,
right.
Meanwhile, trying to garner something that's going to bring ROI to your business. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that has been really tough, especially trying to grow the brand that we're aiming for, you know, and making sure someone understands that vision of the brand and they're not changing it just for quantity purposes has also been pretty difficult. Yeah. But we're getting there.
Yeah. It's a process.
So you talked in your information you provided us, you talked about community involvement, sponsorship, I believe. How does that impact your business? How's that help as part? It's marketing to a point, but how does that help?
You know, it helped a lot. And so my fiance's name is Jason. So Jason and I promised each other that when we started our business, as soon as we could give back to the community, we would. And that was just more of a moral thing. We didn't really use it as a marketing thing. And so someone came up to us and was like, hey, would you help us with the car show for this local nonprofit? We said, yeah, sure. We became really good friends with them. And then they they marketed it, and
Right.
because of that, people associated the shop with, a nonprofit, which a lot of people associate with.
Right.
And it gave that kind of marketing gave our business a more strong connected type of marketing unexpectedly. And so it worked out really well, actually. So we got really good, solid clientele from that.
Yeah, you
That's
never
awesome.
go into it thinking it's marketing or looking at it as
Yeah,
marketing, but it is. It's building
it
awareness.
is.
It's showing that you're involved in the community and helping out, and it ends up building awareness for your business, whether especially depending on how the events go and how
Right.
visible you are at the events, right?
Exactly. And that's exactly what it did.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with how like great that relationship is that you're building, right? Like it isn't just like you said, something that was just in that moment. It was something that
Right.
grew, and then now you guys are, like help one another, even though it isn't like, hey, I'm intentionally going out to help you. It just happens naturally.
With that said, you mentioned word of mouth marketing. What does that look like to you?
Word of mouth marketing. So, word of mouth can be good and bad, right? And the bad could be good because sometimes, and I say that because we have had some people that have left unsatisfied, unhappy. They go make sure that they tell everybody to not go here. And those people are like, I'm going to go try it for myself. And then it ends up, being that sort of way. Word of mouth also works in the local area that we are, because the car community, the classic car community is pretty small. It's not very large. Word of mouth goes around really quick. And that has also worked extremely well for us because the people that do give genuine word of mouth are the type of genuine people that car community trusts.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Are you getting a lot of work locally, or are you getting work from all parts of the country?
we do have work nationally. So, our lovely ambulance is all the way from New York City.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. And he drove it here. It took him 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we have a 56 Willys that's from California. And we have a Dodge Dart that is from Utah. And we did a motorcycle that's Florida. So we are all over the place.
Yeah, so you're
That's
getting
so
that
cool.
exposure nationally. That's great.
Yes, we are trying. We are trying to hit the right clientele, that right market, we figure if someone really likes us and believes in what we're doing, they don't care how much it's going to cost to get the vehicle over, So we just sent back a Mustang that was a tribute Mustang for this customer's son to Pennsylvania. And
wow.
so, yeah, it's all over the place.
That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
How many cars are in your shop right now?
Let me see. As of today, I just updated. We have 12 at first location, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at second location.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got a lot
You guys
going
are busy.
on. Do you have
It's
a backlog
busy.
too? Do you have a backlog of customers? We've got some customers that are 5 years out.
Yeah, we are currently reaching that 2.5 year mark for the long-term stuff, and short-term stuff is currently about 8-9 months out.
Do you run into issues with people going, I got to wait 2.5 years to get my car done? Because we hear that a lot. And how do they accept that? Or don't they?
We do. We tell, again, transparency is one of our core values. So I'm not going to promise that we're going to get your vehicle in when we can't. We usually explain it to them that it's a process anyways to get the vehicle in, build the estimate. We have to wait for parts. We do not allow a vehicle to come in if we're waiting for parts. Any vehicle that is in the shop is actively being worked on. And so that could take a while getting parts in. So they're pretty understanding of that. But we also explain it, you wouldn't go get back surgery done for someone that's like, I could get you in next week, and they're, not a quality surgeon. You're
Right.
going to wait a while,
Right.
So, and then they're like, okay, you waited this long anyway. So
Right.
what's a couple more months,
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You wouldn't go to a surgeon that doesn't have the proper tools either, or waiting for the
right,
scalpels to come in,
Right.
right?
right,
Things
exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have gloves, but it's fine. Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah.
need a knee replacement. We don't have the parts for that, but we'll start it. Yeah,
Right.
that'd be
I
good.
could get you anesthesia. We'll just numb it real quick, but I can get you right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fine. Come on.
We talk a lot about youth engagement here because we're really high on getting youth into the industry, and I'd like to understand how your interns, or how you engage with youth in your area, schools, colleges, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was an automotive class at a high school at a very urban town here. And they would come to the shop, and they would bring the high school students to come look around. And
Nice.
oh my God, they loved it. Unfortunately, that they're not doing that anymore due to budget cuts. And so anyways,
I hate hearing that.
Yeah, it was, and it kind of started off with the teacher, the auto teacher was getting ready to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of, no one advocated. He advocated for it. And so next in line just really wasn't, and I didn't mean to say urban, a very rural town here. So they have, it was really big for them. Anyway, so our local colleges and high schools, we partner with to do internships for the students, because we have a lot of students that are showing, or we're seeing an influx in a younger generation that is interested in classic automotive.
Oh, cool. I like that. I like hearing that.
Yeah, it's mostly stemming from grandparents are handing down the classic cars to their grandkids, and so they want to work on them, or they're tired of working on the new stuff and they like the old stuff. So we do just that. And so we want to be able to offer a shop that can accommodate that interest in those students that want to work on the older stuff and don't want to do the dealership thing. They want to work on old cars. Yeah. So we allow that outlet for the high schools and colleges to do that. And that we've been doing that since really we started. And we've gotten employees from it too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you hire anybody from that?
Yep. Yeah, we have. He was with us at SEMA, and he just celebrated 6 months with us.
Nice.
So
nice.
It's been great. Yeah,
I love hearing that, because I had auto shop when I was in school, right? So moons ago.
Yeah,
moons ago. So I had auto shop back then, which was great. I mean, I was already working on cars because of my dad and had that exposure to it, but it was really cool that I got that same support at my school. And much like Barry said, it's kind of that little pain in my heart when I hear more and more schools that are cutting that out of their curriculum, because that is a very critical part of any male or female, right? As they're growing older, just for self-sufficiency, right? Knowing how to change your oil, knowing how to change a tire, very basic skills that kids don't learn, especially if their parents aren't mechanically inclined. I'll give you an example, somebody that I work with regularly, her husband is not mechanically inclined at all. Right. So he couldn't teach. I mean, maybe he could, I don't know, but based off of what I understood, that's not what he really does or knows how to do. So he gets a flat tire or he has a problem, he calls AAA. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus I have a flat tire. I know how to change my own tire. Now, granted, I probably won't be able to do it on my truck very much longer, but yes.
Yeah, well, that it is a little bit of a survival skill to know how to do those types of things. But you have a lot of students that learning capability does not allow them to sit down for 8 hours a day. They need hands-on, education. They need, or Well, and trades too. And maybe some students can't afford to go to college, or maybe that's just something that they don't want to do. So trades, you can't take trades away. You
Right.
just, it doesn't make any sense to me why someone would.
I don't know why they would either, even outside just trades in general, right? Plumbing, electrical,
Right.
automotive, welding, fabrication, all that stuff. I learned how to weld in high school. I learned some fabrication. I took our tech school last 2 years, junior and senior year, right? And the thing today, all those jobs pay really well,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
they're needed in, regardless of what kind of trade it is, a huge micro fan here. So, that kind of stuff. As far as interns go that are that are in school right now, if we get fortunate enough to young kids listen to our podcast, what would you tell an intern looking to actually knock on your door or talk to their guidance counselor to come and intern at your shop? How do they need to think about that?
They need to understand that just because it's an auto shop does not mean you don't hold yourself to a professional standard. So you do have to make sure that you have a resume and you have a really solid work ethic. Learn skill. You're never not going to know everything. So you have to understand that too. It's okay to ask for questions. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to be constantly in a learning process. There are such thing as stupid questions. So the quality of your questions are really important when you're walking into an automotive setting. So sorry, I hate to tell you guys that, but it is very true. So quality of questions. But for anyone young trying to get into the automotive field, don't be scared. No matter what gender you are, you walk in, have a strong work ethic, be dedicated, be passionate about what you do, be open to communication and questions and understanding. And constantly learn and do research. That's one thing that we look for interns. All of our interns are required to do an interview before you intern with us, because I do feel like it does set them up a little bit for the real world. I mean, whether it works out with us or not, you have to know how to interview. You have to know how to advocate for yourself and for pay and sell yourself. You shouldn't work for anyone or anywhere if you're not happy, because it's your livelihood. Also, it's not. You shouldn't look at yourself as a number on a spreadsheet. So you have to advocate for yourself also. But when our interns come in, their requirements are they have to participate in what we do. They have to be passionate about what we do. You have to ask solid quality questions. No matter how old you are, when you started in automotive, or what gender you are, you're going to make it.
Yeah, and one thing that we've heard a lot lately, and I like to say, you also have to understand that you may sweep the floor, you may take the trash out, you may do that kind of work, because there's a lot of attitude these days I've seen and heard from younger people that I'm going to start painting cars in a week after I'm here, and I'm going to make big money. No, it doesn't work that way. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually another requirement of ours, especially for our probationary period, is you will be expected to sweep the floors, put tools away, clean the bathroom. You know what I mean? Because it's a team effort. If that's something you don't want to do, then you really need to make sure you're very well skilled, because everywhere you go, you're going to have to do those types of things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I think that that's just a fundamental thing that all shops should make, in incoming employees, like, especially, I don't want to say like all employees, right? But like entry level employees do, right? Because I mean, I started working, my dad worked at a gas station for a period of time and he would let me come in and help after school. And that was the first thing that my dad did when I got there, is he handed me a broom and he's like, go to work. Because that was my job, right? I got to sweep the floors and I got to empty the garbage and I got to do some of the remedial stuff around the shop, because it's still important. It still has to get done. And it still sets that professional presence for the company. But
It does.
I mean, it's not a glamorous job, but I mean, shoot, legitimately, there are people who make a lot more money than them, and they still have to do those things.
Absolutely. Well, it's the iconic Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. You know, I'm not going to allow you to touch a customer's pristine, very sentimental vehicle if I can't trust you to, sweep a floor correctly. So you have to. It's a definitely, fundamental for sure.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
Now, one thing I just thought of, when you're an intern, so say you're an intern, right, and you come in and you weren't going to get hired. In most automotive shops, guys that come in and work, they have to bring their own tools with them. How does that work with an intern that ends up getting hired? Are they required? Well, depending on what they're hired for, obviously, but are they required to go out and buy tools? Do you help them with that? Do you point them in the right direction? Do you already have the tools? I'm curious. It just popped into my head.
One question at a time, Barry. One question at a time.
No, it's yeah, please ask, because these are all great questions that I wish I would have known and I've learned the hard way. But there's a lot of emotions that don't do what we do. There's very old, especially the age range of vehicles that we do. So when we have interns that come in, some of the colleges or high schools tell them, if you have a tool bag, and most of them do, take that with you. But if not, we have what's called a communal toolbox here. And really it's my fiance's. And so as long as you're respectful and you put the tools away and you don't break them, or if you do, you own up to it, then you're allowed to use the tools 100% to your discretion. And our team is really good at being very sharing of their equipment as well. But if an intern is transitioning from intern to employee, for a certain amount of time, we do not allow them to bring in a toolbox just in case things don't work out. You know what I mean? And so that's just kind of our intern that is now an employee. He carried around his Matco toolbox, tool bag for the longest time. And he made it work. It work. And you can make it work. You ask people if you could borrow their tools and yada, yada, yada. And so that's kind of how we do things here. Nice. Because we've had some guys that have brought in a huge toolbox setup, and things don't work out. And then that is an awkward exchange, but also, you don't need a whole bunch of fancy tools for what we do really anyways, so.
Right. Cool. Yeah. That's good information.
Question.
I was just curious, just popped in my head, was curious how you handle that.
Yeah. We have what we call Rebel Road Credit. And so that is awarded through performance participation. Our bingo card thing, they get Rebel Road Credit. And a lot of our guys use that to buy new tools.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool. You get them involved in the business and give them incentives to do things and to be present, right? And
even it helps them be more successful.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
I wanted to go back to something I had written down about customers coming to you. If an enthusiast is watching the podcast and they have a car sitting in their garage and they'd like to bring it to you, what do they need to think about before they even pick up the phone and call you or walk into your shop?
You want to understand what the end goal you want for your vehicle is. Do you want to keep it original, or what are some things you want to update? And then do a little bit of research, budgetarily wise. If you want something completely redone, you need to be a little bit open to budgetary, because things can change. You need to be also really realistic of the condition that your vehicle currently is in, because that's a big one. Uh, I some people like to do a lot of comparisons, and that could be really detrimental because it sets certain expectations. So it's best just to pick our brain, see if the alignment is right, and just really ask as many questions as you can. So that would be the best course of action for someone that's wanting to start the process.
Yeah, I can imagine like somebody even has that consideration, right? Hopefully they're starting that process with a reasonable budget, like understanding that that's not an easy thing to undertake, especially if you're talking about a complete restoration or, even if you're upgrading some stuff. I know, like if you're going for something that's very mechanical to something that's more, electronic, then there's definitely a lot that shifts in that. Cost is definitely involved in that. But at the same token, right, like you said, there being alignment between who the customer is and who you guys are as a shop and how you do work, I think would primarily, at least sounds like, would be more based off of that communication and, do we align with one another kind of a thing.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah, and they also, there's all sorts of, there's shipping and truck, especially if they're on the other side of the country, they got to understand there's costs involved in that.
Right.
When you finish a car for a customer, how do you put a number of road miles on it before and basically shake it down before you deliver it back? And what does that look like?
That's a great question also. And that is dependent on the services provided. So we have quality checklists for all of our vehicles, no matter what was performed on it. When it comes to crate motors and when it comes to new suspension, steering, and brakes, we have test driving and quality checklists for that. And then that is gone over with the customer. They're handed what we call a Rebel Road guide, and it goes over expectations that it needs to be put on the vehicle and things that they cannot be doing to a vehicle. Like you can't leave the parking lot doing burnouts with a brand new crate. Like there has to be break-in period.
Yeah. You need your 500 break-in miles.
Yeah. Once the vehicle is released back to you, we tell you, you have to be very careful with this sort of stuff. And then once we hit that 500-mile break-in period, you bring it right back. We reassess everything. We do a retorque. We check the fluids on the engine and everything all over again. And then it's once it's all clean and clear and you're good to go, then you can, essentially do whatever you want with it. But there is a process.
Yeah, I love that you have checklists internally, but you also give your customer kind of, here's the rules of the road initially. And it's based on what you've done to the car and things like that. But that's the first time anybody's ever said that. Hey, here's a list. Here's the do's and don'ts of your new hot rod.
Yes.
Right?
Well, one of our other core values is safety. So understanding that these classic cars don't have modern safety advancements could kill someone, or if you're not handling the vehicle carefully, it could kill another innocent, bystander. So that's not okay with us. So you have to hold just as much as responsibility for understanding that you got a shit ton of horsepower under your hood, and you need to be careful with that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that. So like exactly what you're talking about of like, sometimes you go in with like what you came out with isn't necessarily what you went in with. Right. And so that change in technology or that change in services could alter how you drive your vehicle. So like, for example, I had to have the windshield in my husband's car replaced, and he has a 2021 Kia Stinger. Well, the windshield has all kinds of sensors in it. And so when I had the windshield replaced, they couldn't do it with an aftermarket windshield. They had to order a windshield from Kia. Well, okay, that took forever because everything for Kia does. But when he put the aftermarket windshield in, the first thing that he said to me is, I had to order a new windshield from Kia, but drive this like it's 1989. He said, none of the sensors are working. He's like, please don't rely on them. He was like, you literally have to use all your mirrors. You have to. I was like, you don't have to preach to me. I get it. Like I use all my mirrors anyway. And he was like, but you would be surprised how many people don't. He was like, so from a safety perspective, exactly what you just said, tapping into it, is sometimes you have to help them be safe because they just either take that for granted or they don't really think about it because they've just been so accustomed to, well, my car is going to tell me, right?
Right. Yeah, it goes, it goes back and forth, just like you said. We have some customers that have owned vehicles since brand new, off the showroom floor. And so they're used to that vehicle driving a certain way, and then they bring it to us and we do. And so, and our disclaimers and our little Rebel Road guides, say that this vehicle is going to handle new because it is new, or different because it is different. And the same thing, for a customer who wants to get into the classic automotive field, out of realm, and they're stepping out of a 2024, whatever it is. And they're like, well, it doesn't have all these features. And it's like, well, it's an old car. So, although it's newer than it was like in 1969, it's not 2024 new, so
I hope you work out because it doesn't have power steering.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't want to put in power steering, so you're going to have to push a little harder, pull a little harder.
Yeah, or you bring that C10 farm truck you've had in to put Roadster Shop chassis under it, LS motor in it, and lower it and put real sticky tires on it, and put a 800 horsepower motor in it. It's going to be a different car, and it can hurt you if you're not paying attention and think it's not going to be anything. It's not going to be the same as that farm truck you bought in by any means, right? It's going to be way better, but you can definitely hurt yourself, right?
Exactly. Yes. We've learned all these things in such a short amount of time.
I bet.
So do you have any, besides what you're doing now, you have the two shops. One shop's doing a lot of the repairs and maintenance and things. Other shop's doing builds. Do you have anything in the future lined up for your business as far as net new kind of services or, something else you're going to do that's cool?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are very goal oriented here at Rebel Road Hot Rod Garage, and all of our employees are expected to be goal oriented. So the goals for the shop are to put over 100,000 classic cars back on the road. And in order to do that, it's going to require 500 locations, 4,000 employees. So that's our goal. That's what we're working towards. Every day we wake up, everyone understands the goal, and that's what we're aiming for.
That's a huge goal. That's like major fransising right there.
Yeah,
it is. It's a very big goal. And what's that saying? Shoot for the moon, land on the stars.
Right.
Sort of thing. So that's.
And if your dreams don't scare the shit out of you, you probably should be pursuing something else.
Right. Right. Yeah. So everyone in the new services. Oh yeah, we have business plans of all the services that we plan to bring on during those expansion periods. The procedures, policies, procedures, operations to get each location ready to go. So
I can say that like of all the guests that we've had, and we've had some really great guests on, but much like Barry had said before, like we've not had a guest who has implemented like the checklist or the, like your guide that you provide. And I am gonna stick my foot in my mouth here. I know I'm gonna, but I don't care.
You're being recorded, so remember that.
That's okay. I don't care. Is to say that I think attribution of that is largely based on the fact that you're a woman, and we tend to think about those things a little bit more in sequence than guys do. And not taking anything away from guys, but guys usually their role is like the action of how do I get it done? How am I going to get it out the door? How do I make sure that it works? Right. Whereas women, not only are we capable and obviously, like you said, learn how that actually happens too, to do those things. But we think about a lot of that administrative, like these are the important foundations that the company and the business is built on, so that all of those other things that have to happen more smoothly.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000%. And I agree with that because Jason and I, right? So he owned a business before this, and there was a lot of factors, and it ended up not working out. But when we started this, there's things that and I've never worked in an automotive shop before either, so I don't know how the processes, operations, any of that works, which is probably a good thing because I can start from scratch.
Right.
But oh my God, we had a huge fight one night because he's like, we had just started it. We were like 6 months in. And he's like, we're too booked up. We need another location. And I'm like, no, we need to figure out how we're doing what we're doing. We need operations. We need steps. We need
efficiency
policies put in place. And we had a huge fight over it. And so obviously, good thing we didn't add a second location because we didn't need more space. We just needed not that clientele. We needed, we needed better goals. We needed, all those types of things. So I do. It also helps that I have a high definition D, so my brain is just like boom, 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 all these things I pick up. I'm very observant, so I can see what other shops are doing or aren't doing. And it's actually really common that I hear that a lot of the shops, because we have a business coach too, that don't do what we do. And it scares me a little bit because I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't hurt anyone, because that's like so big to me.
We were talking about process and everything, and I grabbed a couple of books off my bookshelf. Have you ever heard of Traction?
Yes, I love that book. It's a great book.
Yes, it is. So that's anybody that's watching this, that's a great book for, especially a business with multiple employees, right? We have a virtual team, but it does help. And then have you heard of this one?
No, Profit First. No.
Yes. So that's about managing money. You should check that out. You love it.
Okay.
And Who Not How. Who Not How is my favorite book. But anyways, Annette, do we have anything else for Joalda?
We do. We have our we have our speed round. So, Joalda, the way that the speed round works is I have a series of questions to ask you. I'm actually going to shift these a little bit based off of what we've learned about you and based off of like kind of what you guys do. But the idea behind it is that I want you to respond with whatever comes first to your mind. Like, don't think too much about it.
Oh, God.
So knowing that you really came from like the classic hot rod kind of era, that's what you grew up with and that's what you really resonate with, that definitely leads me to the first question of what is your favorite hot rod or even like muscle car?
Muscle car, my dream muscle car is a 1967 Shelby GT 500 fastback, Eleanor.
I was just going to say that.
Eleanor.
I love that car. Like, I'm not really a Ford person, but like that car, I'm just like, oh man, that is like jewelry.
That's the one that got me really hooked. And I mean, I have a 54 Chevy. It's cool. But God, that Eleanor really just, I don't know. But yes, that one.
I have a friend in Texas that works at Classic Recreations, and they make carbon fiber for
yes.
They do some really cool stuff.
Nice. So on to the next question. Knowing that you do know how to do some of these things that we've learned, you know how to weld, you know how to do some of the fabrication stuff, what would you say is your favorite tool in your toolbox?
My favorite tool in my toolbox? A screwdriver. A flathead. Okay. And yes. It sounds so dumb, but I use that thing for everything. The back of it, you can get all kinds of stuff out with it. The front of it pries everything off, I know that sounds so dumb, but
it doesn't. Everybody has got something like that. Everybody's got something that they love out of the toolbox. So next thing is, do you have a favorite like car show, right? Given that you come from like the vintage, the classic car kind of era, again, is there anything that really resonates with you in that like realm?
I haven't had the opportunity to go to a whole lot of car shows nationally. So really just the ones here locally. We used to have the National Street Rod Association come through, and at that time it was the best, but they don't come here anymore. So,
oh man,
That's a bummer.
yeah, we've seen a lot of associations like either close shop, especially after COVID, or like things just didn't work out with ownership, so they ended up, like kind of folding essentially. So, and the last question I have for you, this one always stumps everybody, so don't feel like you're left alone in this, and that is, what is the best advice you've ever received and from whom?
the best advice that I have ever received. It's probably going, and it wasn't face to face, but it was, if you want to do things you've never done before, if you want to see things you've never seen before, you have to be someone you've never been before. And that's from Elena Cardone.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I'm a huge person of not letting fear dictate your life, right?
100%.
To step out and believe in yourself enough to know that whatever you are passionate about was put there for a reason, right? It's not,
Yes.
wasn't by chance. It wasn't by accident. You have a dream in your heart or something that you continually come back to for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good one. That is a good one.
I love it.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in today. Thank you, Joalda, for joining us today. Would you tell everybody how listeners can find you, reach out, and connect with you?
Yeah, of course. So social media is the best way. LinkedIn, Joalda Lopez, or you can reach us through Rebel Road Hot Rod Garage.
Nice. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Joalda, for joining us. We're super happy that we got to learn more about you, your company, and the great people that you work with. And for all of our guests, thanks for joining in while we're fueling your success. We know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.